Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I've actually been going through a ton of weapon levels here in MW2. I currently have all my primaries maxed. I'm working on my last couple of secondaries here to have every single gun fully leveled out. And in my time of going through all these weapons, I have discovered some absolutely insanely good guns. So that said, today we're going over some of the most overpowered weapons and setups in MW2 right now. Starting first with a very interesting weapon, it is the TAQ-V. This is actually the battle rifle version of the TAQ-56, aka the SCAR, and while the TAQ-56 is solid as a decent rifle, the battle rifle here, the TAQ-V, is very good. This is like the SCAR H, whereas the TAQ-56 is like the SCAR L. This thing hits like a truck. It is so strong. When I first tried this out, even without any attachments, the second I started using this, I was like, okay, for one, it is fully auto versus some of these other battle rifles, which is way easier to use, but it still brings the power. Its control really is not all that bad. It's kind of slow because you can definitely tell it's a heavier weapon, but man, this thing just absolutely fries, and I am loving it. So when it comes to the class setup here, I'm going for a nice mix of some decent control, but also I want to keep it somewhat speedy as well. Especially with a lot of the setups here in MW2, you have to focus on ADS speed a lot and sprint to fire a lot because the TTK, unless you are, full-on Sentinel gameplay, ADSing, constantly walking at all, angles ADSing, you got to focus on some sprint to fire and mobility so that you have a fair chance in running around and actually getting kills, playing somewhat aggressively. But first up here, I've got the precision barrel for the better range and better velocity here. This is like my one range-based attachment. While this barrel doesn't offer any control, I feel like it's still a good way to go. It hurts your ADS a little bit, but we can actually gain that back with some other attachments here. Like, for instance, the Choreo laser. You could also go for the FFS laser as well. Both of these are really solid. And in fact, the FSS here actually gives you better sprint to fire on top of the better ADS and stability, with the only con being that the fact that the laser is visible, there. So you can go back and forth between either of those. Each of those works well. I've also got the Cronin Mini Red Dot here. As with all optics, this is entirely preference-based. If you like the SZ Mini, that basic sort of red dot, you could go for that. If you like the blue dot, go for that. If you want something a little bit more range based, you could also go for that with like a VOK 4x. You could go for, the Forged TAC Delta 4x. Whatever you're the most comfortable with here, always run that. Optics really are entirely preference based. I've also got the Demo Clean Shot Grip here. This is going to help out that sprint to fire and ADS. Hurts the control a little bit, but we can actually again gain that back in the form of the Ripper 56 underbarrel here, which helps with that recoil stabilization alongside some stability as well. So like I said, this thing, not the fastest gun in the world by any means, but it brings the power for medium range, even for some long range where you have the ability to, have a clean shot on the enemy. This thing is wildly strong. Next up, I've got another surprise one that when I first started using, I was like, good grief, this thing is going to be pretty wild once players get their hands on it. It is the EBR-14. This, of course, is a marksman rifle and one of the better ones, but as you'll notice, as you start to level these guns, a lot of these marksman rifles are very good. Another one might be coming up here in just a moment, but the EBR, very strong, very consistent. It is like a two-shot kill basically at any decent range. Super long range, it might take more, but for any mid-range fights, for any early long-range fights, this thing is like a guaranteed two-hit kill. You can kind of spam it with the fire rate. It is very fun, very easy to use in my opinion as well, because it is semi-auto. The recoil is not terrible. It's really more dependent on how fast you're shooting it. So if you can manage your consistent fire rate, the recoil is not going to be bad. This thing is just going to absolutely obliterate everyone. So first up here, when it comes to this setup, I've got the 22-inch barrel. This is going to help out with control and velocity. I feel like makes it a bit more consistent in some of those mid-range fights. Basically, the rest of this, though, is focused on making this a little bit more aggressive. So again, we've got the Choreo laser. You could also go for FSS again. Completely comes down to preference there. There's no real difference in what's going on there. In this case, because I feel like this is mainly a mid-range gun, I am going for the VOK 4x optic. Again, you could also go for, the Delta 4, any other decent mid-range or long-range optic you want. This thing, while it's usable up close, in some of those close range fights, I wouldn't necessarily try and make it thrive there versus medium range, where I feel like it's at its best potential and peak potential, if you will. So this works perfect for that. That zoom is not too, zoomed in for those fights. You could use it close range if you had to. It's just nice and versatile. I've also got the adapter stock here. This is going to help out with the sprint speed and the ADS speed. So again, makes this a little bit more aggressive in this case. It hurts the control, but again, like I said earlier, because this is semi-auto, you can just spam this as fast as you want, and that'll determine how bad the recoil is. Then lastly, I got the Gen 7 grip here again for better sprint to fire and a better ADS. So it's got that nice balance of already good power, good mid-range, damage as well, and some decent mobility on here too. By the way, as we are going through all this today, every single day, I got you guys covered with all things going on in COD, news, updates, class setups, tips, you name it, you are going to find it right here. So be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it as well. It does really help grow the channel. Let's try and aim for 3,000 likes on this one and see if we can hit the higher like goal for today. Now, following that, we've got another gun that is just an absolute powerhouse. Usually when we're talking overpowered weapons, it's things that are wildly broken, but in this case, while these guns are all very, very strong and obviously like meta right now, if you will, the power that they output really does fit into the overpowered, name that we're giving these. And the RAAL is right up that alley, or rally. I'm sorry. Yeah, but this thing for real, for being an LMG, obviously it's slow, it's heavy, the reload kind of sucks, but it is pretty minimal recoil and it just fries yet again. The damage here over range is insane. Whether you're at 25 meters or 90 meters, this thing is like a 3 to 4 shot kill, it seems like, in most engagements. So obviously it requires a certain play style and game sense of knowing when you have to ADS and pre-aim certain angles, because you're not going to be able to run around like this is an SMG or anything. But once you figure out how to play this thing correctly, very few things are going to outgun you really at any medium to long range gunfights. So this thing can definitely hold its own. Here, obviously, again, we've got the laser. Pick your poison here. Doesn't really matter too much. I've got the Chrono Mini Pro here. This is the blue dot you get. Again, you could use something like a mini red dot if you wanted to. Even a 4x optic, a Delta 4 VLK again. Those would work as well. I feel like, though, this, with the power that this thing puts out, works just fine even for some of those mid-range fights. I've also got the Riot stock on here for the better sprint speed, better ADS speed. Also better crouch speed. I'm not crouching too much, but that's a nice added pro. Hurts the control a little bit, but that's nothing we can't manage. The recoil here is already very easy. And the Stip 40 grip here is actually better for control as well. So I end up adding that on there just to help out a little bit and help maintain that decent recoil pattern. Then lastly, I got the Demo Narrow grip, which is actually better for recoil and then also stability. And it doesn't hurt your ADS here like most of these other underbarrels do, which is really nice. You always got to be very mindful, especially in this game, of the cons, especially with ADS or recoil being hurt. So this is a nice attachment on there that actually ends up helping out with that and not really hurting anything too major. So the RAAL here, an absolute beast, way better than it was back in MW 2019 in Warzone 1. And then lastly here, I've got the SAB-50 marksman rifle, which is basically the same thing as the SPR. I'm not gonna lie, when I first put this on, I legitimately thought I accidentally put on the SPR because they look so similar in game, but everyone's talking how the SPR is so crazy, like it's a shotgun and sniper all in one. I think the SAB-50 is even better. I thought the SPR was all right when I was using it, and it was fun for running around to iron sight, quick scoping, whatever, but then I put on the SAB-50 and I was doing the same thing, but I was getting less hit markers over range. So this to me is absolutely the better choice in my own opinion, based off of my gameplay experience here. And when I was looking at things a little bit more detailed, this is what I prefer, and this thing is wild. Now, I don't really use this thing as a standard sniper. I use this sort of as that sort of quick scoping, mid-range, close range kind of machine, if you will. It's different, but it's super fun. So because of that, I don't have the most practical sniper setup here. I do use the Bryson factory barrel for the better range and better movement speed. I just want to make sure I have some decent range on there for some potential mid to long range fights that I want to get that potential one-hit kill in, right? So that's on there to help out, but everything else is all mobility based and speed based. So again, the Ole V laser here, or you could also go for the Laz 44 just for that better ADS is what we're focused on there. No optic, we're going the iron sights because it just makes it so good up close. Also, the aim assist is busted with this thing. I got the Spectre mod stock here for the better ADS, the better movement, and the better sprint to fire, so that's nice and ideal. I've got the match grip on here, which is behind the face cam, which is better for sprint to fire and ADS speed yet again. Then lastly, for my bolts, I end up having the FSS ST87, which is just better for rechambering speed, makes it a little bit more aggressive as well. Hurts the rechamber accuracy, but I didn't really notice a huge con there. So this basically is a max speed, max aggressive sniper setup here that one shots basically at any range. It is wild how fun this thing is to use. But that being said, those are 5 of the most overpowered and dominant meta weapons here in MW2 to start things off. That's gonna wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. That way you can always guarantee you are up to date with all things going on in Call of Duty. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.